Day 3. So, let's see here. Day 3 of our 31-day conscious connectivity, right? Conscious connections brings us to today's Friday. And we just left the 9th gene key, the transit of the 9th gene key and 9th hexagram, if you follow human design or gene keys. So we just moved into the 5th one, and the 5th one brings us the shadow of impatience and the gift of patience in the city of timelessness. And during this transit of the 5th key, we're going to experience different aspects of maybe some of the shadow. Maybe some of us are working through what impatience brings up for us. And then some of us may have already been working through that shadow of impatience and are moving on into the patient side where we're flowing with life. We're not holding on to what isn't happening or hasn't happened yet with some of the goals we set. And so I would say, during the next several days, as you navigate this transit, really hone in on, rather during this particular experience, if it's showing up for you in a pessimistic way, or if you are, in this place where you just want to give up and throw in the towel and embrace this deep-seated fear that nothing's going to get better. And that's really what the shadow of this particular transit is. And so take into consideration, be conscious. That's the whole point of this month, is to be conscious, to check in and see where we're at. And so, and sometimes it can take a crisis of sorts to break us out of this cycle, right? To break free from this heavy, melancholy, fear-based place. But let's try not to have a crisis to do that. Let's just make the conscious choice to pop in and break free from that if that's what's happening in our particular little world. So, instead of getting trapped in pessimism, or maybe you find yourself when you're feeling impatient, maybe you find yourself getting really pushy. When we feel like things aren't moving fast enough for us, or it's not happening the way we thought it should happen, we start to push. And when we're pushing, we're not really going with the flow of life. Typically we're pushing on people, we're pushing on, things that can crumble under the pressure if we're not careful. And so we have to be mindful of that, and that we're not being too pushy and driving people away from us in relationships just because we're not in a place of being patient with ourselves. We're not in a place of going with the flow of nature or the journey or the path that we're on. And to be quite honest, when we are in this place of impatience, when we're in this place of pushing against things or just being really pessimistic, we're not able to go in the flow. We're not able to connect with nature. We're not able to be in the moment. It's a really big sign that we're not in the moment when we are continuously fighting our impatience. There's an angry side of the shadow of impatience, right? And so we get really angry when things don't move along, when we're forcing things, along that are not harmonious to our flow of life or the journey that we're on, the path we're taking. And so it can create that barrier between us, the ones we hold dear. And sometimes when we can't snap out of that in a timely manner, it can take a really unfortunate event for us to snap out of it, to release that really tight tension and start living again. So if that's where you find yourself, that's where you find yourself. We still have to embrace wherever we're at in our journey. There are going to be times where we are in the shadowy space of life, and there's going to be times when we're in the not so shadowy side of life, right? And so the gift side of this 5th hexagram and gene key is patience. And so reaching that gift of patience really means that we're trusting in life. We're going with the flow that life naturally brings to us. And even in the harder times, I have to say, I'm kind of teetering that line personally of patience and impatience. I'm teetering this line between both the shadow and the gift of this particular hexagram, because I have big dreams and things are not moving as fast as I want. But to be honest, the last 2 years have been pretty dreary and dark in many different ways of different aspects of life. And I'm grateful for a lot of things that I do have, but there are things that I had hoped would move at a different speed, or I'd be in a much different place in some aspects of my life. And so, as I teeter that line, I feel the more I teeter to my patient side, when I'm letting go of when I'm trying not to force the outcome, right? And I'm willing to just let it flow. I find that it's easier to let it flow. It's easier to breathe. It's easier to find some joy in just some of the mundane moments. And I feel at a much higher frequency. My heart opens more, and my light shines a little brighter when I'm not trying to force things, or I'm not being too hard on myself because things aren't where I thought they would be by now. So when we finally integrate, quite beautifully into the flow of life, it's typically because we're not holding on to a specific outcome or expectation. So just, tune into that. That's the energies we're in for the next few weeks or a few days. So I just wanted to share that. We have a new moon here as well. And so that's also an exciting time for us to be able to set some intentions, check in where we're at, where do we want to be, maybe kind of how do we want to get there. But it's not typically that how we get to where we want to, get. That's the point. It's we know where we want to get, and so it's going with the flow of life to get there and taking it step by step. Let's see, this is day 3, so Wednesday, I think, when we started this challenge, so to speak, of being consciously aware of everything as we end 2021. We were in the hexagram, the 9th hexagram, and that was all about inertia and determination. And so if you kind of piece these together in the journey we're on through the rest of the year, right, it was taking that first step. Just taking the first step in a direction was really the stepping stone to making magic happen in whatever direction that looked like for us. And even if that first step took us to a place where we realized, I don't want this. This isn't what I really wanted. I was thinking something different. This isn't lighting me up as much. So then we take the next first step into the other direction, into a new direction. And so they all work so well together when we're going with the flow of things. So the Galactic Mystic, actually, she posted this morning a great video on the South Node, the North Node, kind of where they're at right now, where they've been for the past several months. Then she talked about where they're headed. And if you haven't had an opportunity to watch those, I highly recommend that you check that out. It was super insightful this morning as I was really trying to navigate my morning and starting my day off and kind of tapping into the energies. I am by no means an astrologist, but I do have a fantastic one in my back pocket, and I actually know a couple of great astrologers. So that's one that I highly recommend if you're wanting to stay in the know of what's going on astrologically speaking. So let's see. This morning, I started my morning off with a little bit of journeying. And I have to say, I'm feeling very called to host journeys, virtual journeys, definitely in-person journeys at some point, but virtual journeys. And so I can see some ways where I could do a journey, a drumming journey, virtually for those who would be interested. and we'll go navigate what some of these hexagrams mean, or some of the things as far as, you know, right now maybe some of us are trying to figure out what our purpose is or where we're headed for the next year. And so there's so much power in taking a journey and talking to our guides to let us know and help put perspective around different things, or bounce ideas off internally, right, on what we think we want, and tapping in. And so if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. I'm definitely interested in hosting that, but there is a key piece missing, is that I can't just host journeys for people who've never done it before. So if you've never done a drumming journey, you know, there's something to be said about arming yourself with understanding what that process looks like and being comfortable with what you're doing. And so I'm happy to host an initial, you know, understanding what goes into journeying and building upon that practice before we do some other like purposeful navigating different areas of our lives. So if you're interested, let me know. I do have some people that have reached out, but I'm super interested in helping others navigate that path, right? It's a wonderful way of being conscious into what's going on. Let's see. We talked about the 5th hexagram in Gene Key, the 9th one we just left, the new moon. There's just so much happening between now and the end of the year, and even as 22 kicks off, we have so much happening. It's really exciting. Let's see here. I know I made some notes in different areas. You know, as I reflect on patience a little bit more, some notes that I made. Oh, you like my little bow? It's from my 1-year-old Lumen. So she likes to take bows out of her hair and give them to mommy and put them in hers. So don't knock the bows. So I just wrote here, right, as I was doing my own journeying, in going with the flow seems to be that big ticket message that I'm getting when I ask about my own practice or the collective practice. What are people missing? What do we need more of? And it's just going with the flow. And there's so many different ways we can go with the flow and practice that. And it does take practice, because it just takes practice, you know, especially when we're hit nonstop with obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and things are pulling, you know, at our heartstrings or our moral compasses, or we feel like we're being infringed upon in different ways. Going with the flow can seem really hard. And so there are many ways we can put that into practice with going with the flow. And I had written down, you know, through one of my journeys, it's just, we need to journal a little bit more. If you're a journaler, or I talk to my phone, you know, speak to my phone when thoughts come up or whatever. So whatever that looks like for you, it could be pen and paper. It could be, you know, talking verbally into something to know what your thoughts are. But tap in and see how you feel, even over the next 30 days, a moon cycle or seasonal or whatnot. Kind of noting how we feel at different areas, right? And it could be during the moon cycle. How am I feeling during the moon cycle? Where do I feel the most energized? Is it at the new moon? Is it at the full moon? Is it, you know, the first quarter, the last quarter? It looks different for all of us. Seasons. Which seasons am I more active in? Which ones am I more vibrantly, you know, energetically able to do the things I love? Which ones am I more, you know, closed off in my time of rest? And so these are all things we just need to tap into, because then we can utilize this intel for our best and our highest good. So yeah, and some other things came up, you know, hosting journeys for connecting with different elements and kind of tapping into learning more about ourselves in those different ways came up. And then I was like, well, I can't just host journeys, right? This is my inner dialogue. I can't just host journeys for people who've never journeyed before. And so I was like, okay, well then maybe we need to take baby steps. And so that's some of my inner dialogue. Let's see, anything else that I know I wanted to bring up today? I have lots of notes here, but a lot of these I want to save as we move more into the month. And so, yeah. Let's see here. So I guess I would say for the next few days, let's really hone in on what the 5th hexagram brings up for each of us as the transit. Some questions you can ask yourself as you navigate this and become more conscious into what's going on is, where in our lives are we feeling the most impatient? Where in our lives are there people we're feeling the most impatient with? So dig into that. Kind of uncover what that looks like. Where can you feel more in the moment? Where can you just be, right? Instead of worrying or stressing or pushing for the next thing, tap in to see where can you give yourself more patience, more time? Where can you just be in the moment and go with the flow? And spend more time in those moments. Those are where you're going to uncover a lot about yourself. And where you really want to go and where you want to be. So, let's see. I feel like that's what I have to say today. Yeah. I guess, let's see here. You know what? I feel like we're gonna pull this book. This book is calling to me at the moment. Let's see if there's something. I don't know if all of you have ever seen this book before. And so the Tao of Pooh. Monday I brought up, there goes my phone, sorry. Monday I brought up my book, which I have books everywhere, and now I can't find it. There it is, the Tao Te Ching. So, this book here is really powerful. So I'm going to open one, so maybe that's where we need to go. So the 14th verse, and then we're going to cut off after this. Look for it, and it can't be seen. Listen for it, and it can't be heard. Grasp for it, and it can't be caught. These three cannot be further described, so we treat them as the one. Its highest is not bright. Its depths are not dark. Unending, unnameable, it returns to nothingness. Formless forms and imageless images, subtle beyond all understanding. Approach it and you will not see a beginning. Follow it and there will be no end. When we grasp the Tao of the ancient ones, we can use it to direct our life today, to know the ancient origin of Tao. This is the beginning of wisdom. And so I don't know how it could have fit any more perfect in today's message. So I hope you all have an awesome evening, an awesome Friday, and I will catch you again tomorrow.